Let's say on the internet right now, you can use various pieces of software. I can go out, I can do a survey. Okay, I can get on a social media website. I can go into one of the forums. I can say, you know, here's a question that I have. I'm looking for people who are, 20 or more pounds overweight, and I've just got a question for y'all. And you can ask a question, and then they can send their answers to you by email. You can have them post them. I mean, you can do surveys for nothing today. Right. Or if you really want to, get sophisticated, you can go to Google and buy pay-per-clicks for 5 or 10 cents a piece. There are all kinds of ways that tomorrow I can have great answers to my questions.
Right.
Then I can use something like a SurveyMonkey or an Ask database, or there's even a program online that's free called Textalizer that you can look up, and you can just dump all your text in there and press a button, and it'll show you the most common 1-word, 2-word, 3-word, 4-word phrases, and you can analyze the thoughts of thousands of people instantly with technology.
Wow.
And then you can take those words and say...
When you do that Textalizer, are you taking emails or communication from your customers
anything
to
you
do
want.
that?
Absolutely.
Wow.
We've done it with different things. We've taken emails that people send in, we'll have them answer surveys, and you dump it in there and press a button.
Customer service, whatever.
It's all free. It's like online. You can just use this thing. And then I say, oh, this is what's on the minds of people. I've got a great friend that does this for basically everything that he does. Every new thing that he launches, he just does a survey, takes all the questions, and then marks it right back to the customer, and that's what they want.
Wow.
And by doing this, what you'll find is that within every category or every industry, there's a huge niche that's available that the customers have an unmet need and they just can't get it satisfied. And my biggest success example is dating advice. When I started out, there were 1 million books on relationships and how to relate to the opposite sex, like all this stuff. And I looked at it and I said, but wait a minute. There isn't anything that's mainstream and really good on just the dating part.
Right.
Okay, just the dating part. Counterintuitive to narrow your focus. Most people want to expand their focus.
Yes.
Most people that teach dating or relationships say, you know what? I'm tired of just teaching dating and relationships. I want to teach life skills. You know what I mean? Or they say, I want to teach existence, or something.
Yeah, very few people are querying for existence. Well, some are.
Well, right. So
yeah.
They think, well, if I'm teaching existence, people who want dating will come to me, of course, because that sits under. Well, actually, in marketing, it's much better to narrow your focus. Sure. A lesson I learned really from Al Reese and Jack Trout, the positioning guys, right? Yeah. So I narrowed my focus, and I said, well, what if I cut off this end? I cut off this end, and it's just this little piece called dating advice.
Right.
From right before you meet, the opposite sex, getting your inner game together, your confidence, right. So forth, up to the first couple of dates. That's it. That's all I'm going to cover.
Right.
And instead of building it as just a book or whatever, I knew about this idea of creating a niche or a category. So I built the category and I promoted the category. And as we built the business, when we would approach partners, I would say, we're the leader in the category. We created the category. And who do big companies want to work with? They want to work with number one.
Right.
Now, we're a bunch of ragtag people working at home at our computers, like you said. Robbins Internet, International.
Yeah.
I'm in my hammock right now. How can I help you?
In my bedroom,
yeah, exactly.
not outside.
Yeah, right. I got to go down to my office right now, so you get out of your hammock, right? Same kind of thing. My computer desk was up against my bed. Right. I would literally roll into the chair and check my stats in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So. But when we show up, we're number one in dating advice online, and we were and we are. So we built a category that exists in every industry. I don't care what industry it is, and I still haven't seen an exception to that rule.
Oh.
So there are always customers that are looking for something that they can't find right now, and if you can just figure out what it is, you can help serve it.
Somebody who is just starting a business, because we've talked a lot about success,
Sure.
life, business. I want to make sure somebody who's sitting at home, who may be less sophisticated also,
Yep.
is saying, okay, this makes sense. All you're really talking about is finding a need. There's plenty of needs out there and filling it.
Plenty.
No matter what the category is, whatever the niche may be or what the category, there's a niche there that's not found. Okay, I could create some surveys to try to find out what they're doing, but some people that might seem like multiple steps, and you are a very systemic man,
Yeah.
right? So, to be fair, which is great because that's why you show other people how to succeed. You're able to hand them a system.
Sure.
Right? But I need to figure out how to get an income so I can support my kid getting through school right now because I've lost the money I thought I was going to use. Or I need to create an income stream that can really build back my critical mass, my little nest egg that I was going to retire on. Or damn, I'm still at my job. It ain't looking good. Not for me. It ain't looking good for my industry or for this company. I need a backup plan right now, and I got to do this part-time.
Sure. I'm going to give you an inner game step, and then I'm going to give you an outer game step.
That sounds like you, Evan. That's perfect. Because that's the truth. If you don't make the change in the inner side, that's my biggest complaint about most people that teach in this industry. People go get this information, but they haven't changed what's going on in the inside game, and so they don't follow through. So thank you for that. So let's start with what's real, the inner game.
So here's the key inner game thing, right? This is the thing that acts as the glass ceiling that really holds people back. I think it creates failure for most people that try to start businesses. When you go from working in a job to having your own business, you actually have to retool your psychology. Yes. You have to completely change the way that you look at the world. Yes. Okay? Dan Sullivan, who we mentioned before, he's got a great way of framing this. You have to move from a value extraction paradigm to a value creation paradigm.
I've never heard that. That is so perfect. That is so perfect.
Most people try to extract value from the world.
Or from their employer.
And that's where we're getting into rampant consumerism and screwing up the planet. They're trying to extract, and no one ever taught them, you could create value from nothing. You can literally put things together and innovate, and it feels so much better, and it's better for everyone. So you have to do that. But to get to that point, what you have to do is you have to overcome a tricky little self-serving mechanism that we all have, all right? So, whether you buy into evolution or not, most people would agree that there has been some level of evolution in humans, okay,
including their psychology.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm talking mostly in their psychology right now. Okay, so a few thousand years ago, it was all fight or flight all the time. I mean, we're talking saber-toothed tigers around, and most people don't live past 15 years of age and all that kind of thing.
Pure survival.
Pure survival, right? Well, now it's a different universe, okay? Most of our basic needs are met. We've got roofs over our heads, we've got food and so forth, but we still have those mechanisms that are inside of us. And they have a good intention. They're trying to save us, but they can really, really screw us up. So what I've found is that most people who come from this scarcity mentality where they feel entitled and they have a job and they don't want to lose their job and they play all these games to kind of keep their job.
And they also evaluate constantly how much I'm giving versus what I'm getting.
Exactly. They're playing this transaction game and they're always trying to get the better end of the deal. Always.
Right.
Okay, so to the average human, fairness means it was equal or I got the better end of the deal. Okay, so I can rationalize that it was fair to you if I got the better end of the deal, but I can't if it was the other way around. So I call this the justice mechanism.
Or the selfish gene.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's a selfish gene like brain,
yeah,
right?
Exactly right.
So to me, the justice mechanism is that mechanism that says, as long as it's equal or I get better, then it's okay, right? But I can't stand to see the other guy get the better end of the stick, I can't stand to see the other guy get the better end of the bargain.
There have been psychological tests where they'll see, like on a betting element, how far somebody will go, where people decide how far somebody's going to go, where one person gets to name the amount of money and the other person's got to settle for it, right? There's been multiple studies like that. So I think...
so I'm actually going to use that example.
Oh,
okay. I was just about to go there. Okay.
Go ahead.
So there's a psychological experiment that
like
they
do.
Like
a tipping point.
So what they do is they sit two people down and they say, okay, you're A and I'm B, and then they put $100 in cash in front of A and they say to A, you can divide the money up between the two of you any way you want. But here's the trick. B gets to decide whether or not you both get the money or you both don't get any money. So what A usually does in most cases, by the way, is says, okay, B, you get 50 and I get 50. And then B, I would say, okay, we both get the money. But in some cases, A will say, you know what, B, you're going to get free money anyway, so I'm going to keep more for myself. And the tipping point you're talking about is right around the 70-30 point.
Is that where it is, 70-30?
So where A says, I get 70 and you get 30, and that's where B says, even though I don't know you, even though I've never met you, and even though this is $30 free, I can't stand to see that son of a bitch get a better deal than me. And B says, neither of us get any money, and both of them get nothing. So then they said, well, maybe this is, because we're doing this in America, and 70 or 30 bucks isn't that big a deal. So then they went over to third world countries where $100 is a few months' income. Guess what? Exact same thing.
Same ratio. Wow.
Someone will walk away from a month or 2 months of income because they can't stand to see that other guy get the better end of the deal, even though they don't know them. Another example of this that I like to use that's a great analogy is the monkey trap that they use in Africa, where they hollow out a tree and they cut a little hole and they put a nut in there, and the monkey puts his fist, he won't let go, and the hunter can just walk up and kill him and throw him over his shoulder, because whatever you want to call it, the ego or the selfishness, the monkey just can't stand the greed to let go of that thing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite examples of the right way to do this is there was a restaurant in San Francisco. I can't remember the name of it, but the guy who ran the restaurant decided, here's what I'm going to do. When you sit down at my restaurant, I'm going to put down 2 glasses and I'm going to put down a big jug of wine, and I'm going to say to you, drink as much wine as you want and tell me at the end how many you drank.
Right.
I'm going to trust you. So the press came, showed up, said, you're giving away this wine. Don't you know people are ripping you off left and right? And he said, yes, but look outside. There's a line around the block of people waiting to get in.
So one way is to be upset by the selfish gene, or the other way is to figure out how to utilize it in a way that's, intelligent.
So the justice mechanism, here's what I like to say. Learn to love getting the short end of the stick.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Learn to love it.
As long as you're structured effectively.
Well, you got
to be careful, because in business,
exactly,
you can be the person. I've been the person who's like giving and giving and giving and giving, and in the end, there's no business left in that piece too. So
exactly.
There's
This
a
is an
balance.
inner game thing.
Yeah,
we'll get to the outer game.
You got to
thing
balance
here
it with the outer game. thing.
Exactly,
Okay,
right?
Got it.
Gary Vaynerchuk, the Wine Library TV guy.
Yes,
right?
yeah, he's fantastic.
He's fun,
Passionate
right?
guy.
So I interviewed him recently, and he said, I call it the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
You get 80, I get 20.
Right.
That's the way I like to do business. Now, here's where it gets really fun. Once you get over it in the inner game and you love to see another person getting the better end of the deal, you just love it. Like, they get to feel like they won, and you get to feel like you contributed to their life. You don't worry too much about what you got. Then you can kind of take a deep breath, and then you can go into business with this, okay? Because let's say the internet allows you to do.
Yeah.
In the past, if I wanted to, 20 years ago, okay, when you were doing this, if you wanted to give a 1-hour video to someone, you had to produce the video and get a studio, and then you had to go to an Avid editing machine, and you had to do all this stuff. Then you had to have the thing reproduced and have a master made. To make 1,000 copies of a video, you would be lucky if you got off at being able to hand them to people for 20 or 30 bucks a piece out the door. Lucky, right? Well, now we're on the internet. We're sitting here with cameras, right? This stuff's going to be dropped into a Mac. If we wanted, if someone put a gun to the team's head right here that's around us right now.
Could be out tonight, distributed.
This thing could be online being sold in 2 or 3 hours.
Totally true.
Okay? And it could be distributed for pennies.
Yeah.
So the dynamics, the internet has changed the whole dynamic of the economics of the situation. So what I can do now is I can take this video that might be worth $50 or $100 kind of list price, and I can sell it for $5.
Right.
And I can have 1 million people come and give me $5 for it.
It's the music business. Music business was the first one to really take advantage of this at the highest level. Maybe outside porn. Maybe porn was the first thing they made the business go.
Right.
They drove the technology.
Yeah.
I was reading some figures of percentage of people that did searches in the beginning and what generated revenue on the web, and porn was the biggest piece.
Yep.
But the music business is the same model you're talking about.
Exactly.
And they're still reeling from it though to figure out, because they had an old business model that's been disrupted so massively. We'll talk about that in a second. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's
so part of marketing is getting the customer to see how they're getting a bargain, getting them to see how when they're taking out their $100 to buy something from you, that they're thinking, this guy I like him, but he's not that smart because he's giving me $1,000 worth of stuff for my $100.
Right.
So they feel like they're getting the better end of the deal, and then replicate that 1 million times.
Got it.
Okay. So in the past, what poor people do, Tony, is they ask the question, how could I get 1 million people to each give me $1?
right.
Did you ever think about that when you were younger? I used to think about those kind of things, like if I could come up with a way to get 1 million people to give me $1, I would be a millionaire, and they wouldn't be out that much money. It's only $1. You remember those Ponzi schemes? Like it says in
You sound like you were getting ready for politics at that stage.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about it. I didn't know so, but I was
You
thinking
didn't know
it.
that what you really think is preparing yourself to be a politician.
You see the classified ads that say how to have $2,000 to $5,000 a week show up in your mailbox.
Yeah.
Send $5 in a self-addressed stamped envelope to this address, and what comes. I never did this, but I heard what comes back is a little piece of paper that says, "Run an ad that says how to have $2,000 to $5,000 a week show up in your mailbox." I was like, that's my kind of thinking, right? But that's how
But it's
poor
not sustainable
people think.
because there's nothing, you haven't really added the value.
Right, but that's the mindset. That is how
I
poor
get it.
people think.
I agree.
How successful people think is, how can I give $100 worth of value to 1 million people, and then say, if you got some value out of that, would you give me $10 in return?
Right.
That's
It's
what.
Wikipedia.
That's what rich people think.
Yeah, I
because
get it.
I'd rather have $10 million
Yeah.
and gotten screwed
Yeah.
on the other 90
Yeah.
than I would, have all of $100 and
Right.
it's like I get to cramp it right here. So
Right.
one of the examples of this is I've kind of come up with this little. It was just a little catchphrase that I started talking about and really caught on called "move the free line."
Yes.
You've probably heard this phrase.
Yes.
And the philosophy is simple. It's that in the past, things used to cost a lot more money to make, to distribute, to...
And a huge amount of risk to even try it.
Exactly. I was just talking to a group of guys a couple of nights ago. I was I had a networking meeting, and I had some of the founders of some of the top kind of social media companies and kind of new media and just really interesting people at this meeting. And one of them said, look, 10, 20 years ago, if you wanted to build a piece of software, you needed $1 million just to write the first line of code.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah.
Just to get all the stuff together to write the first line of code.
Yeah.
Today, and this is now, this is just, it's changing and going down exponentially. Now, for $10,000, okay, 1%, you can hire a team of developers that can build a piece of software, get it up and running on a virtual server, and have a prototype that's running for 10 grand. Okay, it's not the same
Then
as
tie
it
it
was.
to the cloud so you can have scalability at whatever level you want.
Yeah, Amazon.com
That's
is
right.
allowing you to scale up using their servers at a fraction of the price, right? So it's just not the way that it was anymore, right?
Yeah.
Everything's kind of new here. So the way we've done this, I'll just give you an example. Last year, we launched a program called the Guru Mastermind, where we taught authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs who wanted to learn what we do to create, publish, market, sell information products online, how to do it.
Right.
Because I like to teach whatever we learn. So when I launched it, I said, okay, so I'm the guy that says move the free line. I got to do it bigger and better than I've ever done it before.
Right.
What would just be the ultimate free line moving thing? So we created a 1-year program that's monthly that you go through for a year, which has live trainings and all kinds of different training, teleclasses and webinars and guests, and I just tried to create the best program possible. And then I said, what would be the ultimate way to get people in the door? So I said, why don't I essentially give away a month of it to everyone?
That's great.
Why don't I create, and my goal was to give away $1,000 worth of value to anyone who wanted it.
Wow.
And we started doing webinars, and we had teleclasses, and we built custom software that we gave away to people, and we did all kinds of training. And when I counted, I can't remember the exact numbers, but something like 20,000 people or something went through this whole process. Did we create and give away $20 million worth of value for free, for nothing, with zero expectation? I don't know. You'd have to be the judge if you went through the training, but it felt pretty good to do that.
Right.
And then at the end, when we launched the business, we launched a multi-million-dollar product launch of a brand new business that was totally untested in a new market with new customers. And
But you also had an instant brand. You created a brand in a month.
exactly, right from nothing.
Because all these people could become raving, assuming they enjoyed the experience, which I heard everybody did.
Yeah.
They're raving fan customers already, and you didn't have any barrier for them to have a taste of your experience. And most of the time, you're spending all this money so that someone hopefully will get a taste of what you do, enough of a taste that they'll want to do business with you. You're just completely reversing it. The move of the free line, I was wondering who, I've heard that phrase several times. I didn't realize when they created it, and I was actually corrected recently by Frank Kern. He said, no, I didn't create that. He said, Eben did, so he gave me full credit.
Oh, that's good.
Let's go to the second piece. Let's go to the external world. What do they got to do now? They're brand new, trying to find a way to generate an income stream, trying to create value in some way, but not quite sure what the first steps are. Give me the steps.
Okay, so I'll give you two paths, but they're both the same thing, basically. One would be an online strategy, because I'm a real believer in the internet and what it's allowing us to do, and I'll tell you about that in a sec. And another one would be an offline strategy.
Perfect.
Okay. The common denominator here is you got to go figure out in an experiential way. You have to get experience and understanding of how to create value for others, and then how to get value back in the form of money.
Right.
This is a skill that you have to learn. You actually have to practice it, and once you get good at it, then you get it, then you can start scaling it up in terms of a business. But I think you've got to learn how to do it essentially one-on-one to start with. If you're going to do it offline, let's start offline. I recommend that you go into one of the sales and marketing type industries and spend a couple of years working there. Network marketing is a great place to start. Has a weird reputation, but you will learn so much if you will stick with it for a few years. Real estate and mortgage, another great industry. As we're doing this right here, it's a rough place to go, but I'll tell you what, you would not get a better education if you went in right now and had to fight for your life in that industry.
I wouldn't argue with you on that at all, because I have my original training was like door to door, selling a product that I was passionate about, was music.
Tony, when I was first in real estate, you know, door knocking, right?
Yeah.
Cold
Working your
calling,
farm.
picking the phone up, exactly, doing the farming, whatever. So one day I was going to do some calling, and it's kind of fuzzy. I think I was going to call for sale by owners and try and talk them into listing with me or whatever. So I was looking at the phone, thinking, okay, I'm going to call. I just looked at it and I got all worked up and I got nervous and I can't do this. And I finally just went home and went to bed because I was so distraught by the whole thing, right? I was so distraught. Yeah. I went out to go door knocking one time and I looked at the doors and I couldn't do it. I went down to the restaurant and got a piece of cake, and I just had to give some sugar to I had to get someone in my office, and she and I went out together to knock on doors, and it was like, and when the door would open, I'd be like, here, run, I remember one time I mean, a real estate agent's worst nightmare. I was out trying to get for sale by owners, and I had my girlfriend driving me around for moral support.
Oh my gosh.
And I got out of the car at the sidewalk, and the house was set back like probably 100 feet from the street. And as I got out, it was almost like there was a switch on the sidewalk. I get out, and the guy comes out the door and he goes, "You a realtor?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Get out of here. We don't want," and I would jump back in the car and so forth. So
builds a lot of respect with your girlfriend too.
It was so traumatizing, right? Those experiences. But when I look back at them now, I realize to overcome that stuff, what I had to do in here, it made all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
It really did. So I recommend offline, and I recommend everybody do this anyway. Get into an industry where you have to work with people one-on-one, face-to-face, and you have to help them get results that they want. Work for a reputable company. Real estate, mortgage, insurance, multi-level marketing, they're all great options, right? Because you have to become something that you're not. Right. Now, the internet is the fast track for this.
Right.
Okay? If you want to fast track and you want to be able to make money literally tomorrow, okay? Some people that I know have gotten online and have been making money in days.
Right.
I want to, caveat, you miss some of the great experience of interacting with people live, but you can do the fast track version by getting online and doing what's called affiliate marketing.
Right.
Are you familiar with affiliate marketing?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So affiliate marketing is basically where you get online and you go to a company who sells a product and they say, you can sell our product. And there are thousands of companies and there are thousands of products. Big giant companies like Amazon.com as an example, you can go sign up for what they call their associate program, which is an affiliate program, and you can sell anything on their website and you can make some of the money. Right. I just started a blog about 8 weeks ago, Tony. I haven't blogged consistently in my life, so I started a blog and I said, since I'm going to be blogging, I'm going to link to anything that I mention because I want to just track and I want the experience of what it's like to kind of start over.
Right.
So I mentioned a book and I put a link and I signed up for the Amazon Associate Program and people went and bought it. And now I've been watching it and I've made like $100 in affiliate commissions over the last 2 months doing it. But you know what? I got a little rush because it's cool, writing about something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And then people look at it and then they go buy the product or the book or the CD or whatever it is. And they go, that's so awesome that Amazon is rewarding me for sending them customers. Right. It's super cool. So you can be a partner with Amazon.com. You can sell anything on their website. Right. If you want to sell information products, ClickBank is a great place. You can go to their marketplace. You can click on it on their website without even signing in. You can pull down, you can look at all the different categories. You can see a list in order of all the different things that are selling on their website, which is selling best, which is selling worse, how they're working. And then you can click on the links and go look at the websites. I mean, you can emulate stuff on there yourself if you want to just start your own business. But it's better to start a ClickBank account or go to Amazon.com or go to Commission Junction, which is another huge website with thousands of affiliate programs. You can sign up for eBay's affiliate program. You can become a partner with any of these huge online businesses. It's another thing that the internet allows you to do you couldn't do before.
And instantly.
You send a customer to them, the technology tracks it all behind the scenes, the person buys something, and they send you a commission. Yeah. And the tracking is pretty good. Yeah. It was scary when I first got started, but now it's pretty solid. Right. And then you can go and you can do something like you can start a blog. I recommend that everybody start a blog. Start one today. Go to WordPress or Blogger, WordPress.com, Blogger.com, start your own blog, and every day sit down and write something. And I don't care what it is, write something that offers value to other people, because it sharpens up your communication. Right. You start learning these skills. Right. You listen to this interview and you go, maybe I need to put a hook at the beginning. And instead of just writing about a book.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly, right? Instead of just putting a book about fitness that I read and saying, here's a good book about fitness and here's what I learned, you go, oh, you know what? I'm going to write a headline called "How I Lost 13 Pounds in 30 Days," and now it's super engaging, and you see people really get into it and they're fascinated with it, rather than just my weight loss adventure or something that's not compelling, and then you see the connection. Another miracle of modern day marketing is the search engine. And in marketing, getting started, the pay-per-click search engine. Most people still don't know what this is, but you can go to Google or MSN or Yahoo, and you can set up an account, and you can start buying clicks. So you can run little ads. You notice on Google, when you do a search, all of the natural search results show up on the left, while on the right-hand side, those are paid results. And those people are paying by the click. So if you click on one of their ads, they're going to pay Google 50 cents or 5 cents or $3, or some of them are $50 or $100 a click, which is really scary. You got to be careful with your marketing.
You better have a great product.
Yeah, exactly, and you better know your numbers, right? But you can start buying traffic tomorrow for 5 cents a click. Some of them you can even buy it for 1 cent a click. So you can start getting traffic. So you can play matchmaker. And I know people, I know one kid, I mean, this is an extreme example and I call him kid, but he's 25 years old, and this guy makes millions and millions and millions of dollars and doesn't sell any of his own products. He's just a matchmaker. He just gets leads from search engines and other sources and sends them to companies who want the leads. And he's right there.
Good at converting.
Exactly. And what's great about pay-per-click search engines, I'm a direct response marketer. Okay, I use a lot of different philosophies of marketing and branding, but direct response is how I got started. And in direct response marketing, what we're always looking for is to get the customer to do something, to take some action. We don't want to just put our name out there. We want to get them to take some action. Well, what's great about pay-per-click advertising and marketing is
they're already taking action.
Yeah, by definition, they're taking action. So I actually have a whole philosophy around choosing a niche in starting a business or launching a product. If you want, we can talk about that in a moment.
I want to make sure we go back to that because we talked about that off camera earlier. I think that's very important.
Okay, so that's a key piece. Well, one of the great things is if you're testing a new niche, you want to find customers who are looking for the product. And you don't want to try to talk people into wanting your product. That's a hard game. You want to find people who are already looking. You can test it on a search engine, and by definition, they're looking. So if it doesn't work on a search engine, you're probably going to have a hard time making it work anywhere else. So you can get on there. It's also a great direct response marketing training. It's like training wheels or a simulator for direct response marketing, because you have to write a 25-word headline and then 2 lines of 35 words in your copy. And you can see, and you can change the headline, and by changing the headline, you get double the level of click-throughs, and the whole thing's tracked for free inside of Google. I mean, you're buying the clicks from them, but they're giving you $1 billion worth of tracking and stuff that you can watch and look at all these dashboards, stuff that just 10 years ago when I was doing offline marketing, what we had to do to get that kind of stuff. I mean, you would have had to have a team of like 50 people, all with, math
and you
PhDs,
still wouldn't have got it.
and you wouldn't even be close. You're using Google's system to, train yourself to do marketing. So affiliate marketing online, I would say, is the best way. I actually think it's the best way to get started in business right now because of what you have to learn. You don't need a website. You literally don't need anything. You can start with no money from scratch. I mean, you need a little bit of money to buy some clicks, but you can actually do it with no money. Social media, you can get on Twitter and just start twittering. You can get on a blog and start blogging. You can get on Dig and Facebook, and you can just start creating content and ideas. And I mean, I know people that, they say, okay, I'm gonna start selling electronics. I love these things, digital cameras. So, one guy I know, he got on, made a little video about a digital camera, and he got on there, got his little webcam, said, here's the digital camera, here's what all the features are, went online, put it on YouTube, put it in a couple of other places, put a link to Amazon.com, and immediately started making money because people watch his little review, and they say, that sounds great, I want to buy it, and then there's the link. And then they go to Amazon, and Amazon sends them a check for 10 or 20 bucks or whatever every time they buy them. So you can do this, and there are millions of people now making money this way. There are millions of people that have started their own businesses. They're achieving financial freedom. They're helping people, real customers, buy high-quality products. You can be a partner with any company that you've ever wanted to in the world. In the past, if you wanted to sell, JVC camcorders, or you wanted to sell Canon cameras, to figure that out, you got to get a business license, and then Canon.
The amount of risk you got to take, you got to convince Canon, you got to have the physical space, you got to advertise.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Never happened. Well, now I can go on Amazon and just get a link to the Canon camera, and then write a review of it, and now I'm selling Canon stuff. And I don't have to warehouse it; they just send me a check, right?
So tell me this. I love the quality of your thinking, how systemic you are. I love how you start back here at the very beginning and go, what's the internal change that's got to happen? And then you're stepping in and saying, what's the muscle and psychology and reference base? And then what's the easiest way to get going? So the next obvious question is, tell me about the two pieces that are the basis of these businesses. So much I could do. If I'm going to narrow my focus, if I'm going to get a niche, how do I select the best niche for me, and how do I, be more certain that that niche is going to be successful? That's one.
Great.
And then two, how do I start to build a list of people that's significant enough that the income is not just $10 or $12, but I really end up having a business?
Yeah, right. Okay, so these two concepts of niche and list are very modern. Everyone's wondering these questions because when you get online, you got to know what niche to go into, and if you don't have a list, then you're wasting most of your money because you're not building a relationship with people, right? So the way I like to say it, Tony, is that your market and your marketing are two different things. And your market actually drives your marketing. Most people jump right into, how do I sell it? What's my headline got to be? How do I brand it? What do I call it? And I say, wait, let's step back a step and ask, what is the product or service that you're going to sell and who's going to buy it? Because that's what makes up the market. And if you get the product to customer match, if you get the market right, then the marketing kind of takes care of itself. So the big question in the market is, what is the niche? What niche do I go into? And I think of the business niche, and I actually think of each product as its own niche.
Interesting.
Now, most products fail in the market. Something like, I've read estimates, 80 to 90% of all new product launches fail. Over 95% of all businesses fail in within 10 years. Some of the numbers that I've heard.
96% last number they said,
Yeah, exactly. So these are huge things to get your head around, and you got to realize that there's a lot of professionals out there too doing this.
That's right.
Right. So, for the average person, those numbers might even be a little bit higher. So I said, okay, what causes this failure? Why do products fail? Why do they succeed? So I put together a little 3-question test. Simple test that you can ask yourself, that you can run any business or product or niche idea through.
Now, by the way, just for people watching, if you don't have a business, this is obvious, but if you do have a business, sometimes it's good to think about, if I'm developing a new product or new service, or if I'm looking at a way to generate a brand new experience within my business, rejuvenate my business, then maybe time to look at a new niche as a product or as a service or as a whole. So I just want to mark out, because we've got two types of people that are watching here, and they both, I think this is core information for both of them. So go ahead, your 3 questions.
Okay, so I actually teach this system typically to business owners.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so I actually teach this to people who already have a business about how to narrow their niche and so forth. So this is very, very relevant to even very successful business owners.
I think so too.
So the first question is my prospect experiencing pain and urgency, or what I think as Jeff Paul calls irrational passion? In other words, is there a heightened emotional state? Okay. If there's no heightened emotional state, then the prospect isn't motivated, then you've got to talk them into buying your stuff.
And this is typical. The other day, Mike Kay was giving me some of the questions that he was getting from people. And one of the questions they were saying is, the man was saying, I'm selling my art and I'm doing everything everybody's teaching me, but it's not really working very well. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, if you're selling, your art, A, does that product really appeal? And B, is art at this stage a passionate, endeavor for people in terms of their investment of their money? The answer is no. So, they might be doing, it depends on which niche, Obviously, which specific niche. But I'm talking about somebody who doesn't have a name doing their art. There's a hell of a lot of that art I can get for free right now, So, but anyway, so is it a passion niche? An example of a passion niche versus a dispassion niche, and how you see the difference is what?
Well, let me start with, most people don't want to hear this, but pain and urgency, that intersection where someone's experiencing internal or external pain and there's an urgency to solve it, that's where the biggest opportunities are.
That makes sense. So they both meet.
Most humans are far more motivated by moving away from pain than they are by moving toward pleasure. You know this stuff. Most people that launch businesses want to create something that's all happy and joy and art and their self-expression and so forth, and most people aren't looking for that. Okay, it's harder to do that. So I actually teach connect on pain if you can do that, because you can really help people.
But also pain that they got to solve now. Some people will live with the pain for years and years and years, and even though it's there, they've kind of gotten used to it. So that's why you need both of them there. That makes total sense.
So accountants, okay, there are a lot more accountants than there are tax strategists. Why? Because everyone gets to April 14th and says, oh, damn it, I didn't. So they run down to H&R Block with their box of papers and they, whatever, because there's pain and urgency. They know they got to get it done, or, they imagine jail or something. Whereas tax strategists, who calls up the tax strategist, the previous year before they even go in and says, I realized last year that I was running down to the accountant at the last minute and I probably wasted thousands of dollars. Why don't I talk to you for an hour for $300 and I'll save, who knows, maybe 30,000. That doesn't happen. Tax strategists, they have to work hard to get their business, right?
True.
So there's just one example.
Perfect.
In my reality, dating advice,
Right.
there's a lot of pain and urgency around dating, right? I mean, it's the most primal thing that there is, right?
And that urgency can build at certain stages of life.
Yes, it certainly can, right? Maybe I should read some of my own products right now myself. But anyway, so pain and urgency, or irrational passion.
Got it.
Okay, so there's got to be massive emotion.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, is my prospect proactively looking for solutions? So have they gotten to the point where they've gotten off their lazy ass and they're actually out looking? Okay?
Because some people will live with the pain and the urgency and still not act.
Exactly.
So I'm looking for the person raising their hand saying, okay, I'm really going to do something about it at this stage. I'm at least looking for something to do about it.
Exactly. We go through a predictable pattern when we run into a problem. We realize we have a problem, then we go, uh-oh, maybe I better go start looking at options. Then we go out and we look at options and we narrow them, we choose, we take action, then we run into other problems, and it's welcome to life. Right?
Exactly
the hamster wheel that most people are on. So if you catch someone before they've started proactively looking for solutions, then you have to play the game of talking them into wanting your product. And that is a very tough game. Talking people into wanting what you're selling